If you're just tuning in, you're watching Business Connection. I'm your host, Liz Spencer, and joining me now from Tandem HR is Grant Bramley. Grant, thanks for joining me. Now, tell me a little bit about your organization, and you are something known as a PEO. So what's that all about?
Correct. Thanks for having me. So PEO stands for Professional Employer Organization. And what that means is we're effectively an HR outsourcing partner for small to mid-sized businesses. When you have employees that are considered W-2 employees, which is a little unique in this marketplace with the rise of the gig economy, you have a lot of responsibilities around compliance, around process, around the things that you need to do in order to service, maintain, and ultimately develop those employees. But the administration of that can get pretty cumbersome. So what a PEO allows you to do is have a cost-effective way of outsourcing the administration associated with payroll, benefits, human resources, workers' compensation, and compliance-related areas.
Excellent. It is an important part of a business, and as an employer in a not-for-profit space, it's not what I'm trained in. Mm-hmm. I just know I need it.
Yeah, it's pretty different, and as technology has advanced, the area's gotten a little murky. Mm-hmm. And what differentiates a PEO from something like an HR technology is a model called co-employment. And so we're able to co-employ, for the purpose of administration, the employees of our clients, which gives us the ability to aggregate and bring economies of scale and also be a liability holder in the relationship.
There's lots of HR companies out there. Some are smaller. What do you bring that's different? How do you use that scale a little bit more? You touched on that a little bit with the co-employment, but I would also think that expertise and just availability of people to solve a lot of problems, because it's never times well when you need an HR person. Yeah,
absolutely. So the co-employment relationship allows us to bring all of our customers together from a volume perspective. And so that gives us the ability to have buying power with the areas that we service. So specifically around insurance, around technology, we're going to national carriers and we're bringing obviously much more of an attractive demographic versus what typically small to mid-sized companies have difficulty getting access to. So what that translates to, just using benefits as an example, is a broader offering. And when it comes to being a small employer, a mid-sized employer, and the way that the industry sort of defines that is between, call it, 10 and 150 to 200 employees. But as you're on the smaller end of that spectrum, you don't have as much independence in trying to compete with the larger companies because you're trying to offer things that are much more difficult to access. And so through a PEO, we're able to bring small companies a much broader benefits offering. We're able to typically maybe bring some cost benefit because of that buying power, and we're able to deploy that in many ways through a technology that simplifies their life dramatically.
That's awesome. I think that you hit on it that for a small company, especially in this global marketplace, in this tough marketplace right now, we're competing hard. And benefits is something that everybody's interested in. We just don't have the buying power.
Yep.
How much how much input does the employer have on something like that? Like if I have something, I'm in a different business, so I have different needs.
No, it's a great question. We get it all the time. In the co-employment relationship, the PEO doesn't have any authority within the business. It's for the purpose of administration. Okay. So the things that small employment executives really get frustrated with are local, state, federal reporting, compliance around documentation, administration of benefits, all of those areas that are required that they're never going to be an expert in. And so as the PEO is the liability holder and the co-employer for the purpose of administration, they can push all of that sort of transactional activity to us. They can rely on our human resources business partners to be an expert in their business, ultimately getting to know them as a company, educating them, being there for sensitive situations, but they still retain all of the authority around hiring, culture, training, development, everything that ultimately they need to be the decision maker on.
Wow. So that gets, I'm sure, every small to medium-sized business listening in, it gets you thinking. How are you doing it? What do I need to know? How do you know when your business is needing a PEO, or when you're, I guess, say, ready for it. You have enough employees where it's now becoming, something that's taking up a lot of time.
Yeah. There isn't sort of a defined line in the sand. It's usually some relatively common inflection points. So you figure a business is growing based on customer demand, and so now they have to start hiring outside of friends and family. COVID was a huge inflection point because of employee distribution. Businesses went from having a pocket of employees in one place to employees in multiple states. Or healthcare, which we've talked about. A need to try to compete with much larger organizations or competitors of those businesses in the same space. So the most common time that we typically see businesses moving to a PEO model is 15 to 20 employees. Another example would be growth. If a business, for whatever reason, has to go from 12 to 30 quickly, that's really complicated to do if you're not equipped with either the hiring mechanisms, the recruiting mechanisms like attractive benefits, or how you sort of reach those employees in different places. We bring all of that to a small company so that they can, in some ways, look, feel, and operate like any of their largest competitors.
What sets you apart? There are other PEOs out there.
There are, and there are good ones out there too. I've had the pleasure of being in the industry for a while and working for some good companies on the other side of the fence. Where Tandem, I really think, makes a difference for our businesses is bringing the Midwest values and a really high customer-centric approach to an industry that is marked by national competitors. We hold the accreditations of some of the largest ones. We have a national footprint, but you don't get lost in the customer experience of working with some of the really big ones. Our HR business partners really work to get to know each and every client, understand their culture, help them be an advisor, and then obviously the technology that we deploy, which is best in class, ultimately just dramatically simplifies their ability to have efficiencies in their operations.
That's awesome, yeah, because one of the things that a small business owner always worries about when you're going to a larger firm is, will I be able to reach the person I need right now? Will I get that individual customer service, or will I just be on hold?
Yeah, and in this market, one of the big distinctions, which is sort of sensitive to Illinois, is the fact that we do have a master healthcare policy through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, which we're arguably the only one who can offer that as a PEO in our space.
That's excellent. Now, I read someplace that if you partner with a PEO, your growth of your business will increase 7 to 9%. Tell me a little bit about that. What's the secret of growth with a PEO? I think I know the answer, but I want to see if I'm right.
You're welcome to answer it if you want, but I'm happy to.
Right. I think by taking that burden off the employer, I can concentrate on my job, or what I really am, my passion, my skill level, without having to be overly burdened because I got you.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
So it's workforce optimization because we're taking the things out that would normally have to either be researched, have to be discussed, potentially hired to deal with, and it's an on-demand resource while also being a liability holder. So an example of part of our service offering is what's called employment practices liability insurance. And whether or not a company uses a PEO, I highly recommend that they do so. That's the insurance policy that protects the business from allegations by employees, which is obviously very prominent right now in the national news. By having a PEO, because we're the co-liability holder, we are the front end of defense in those circumstances because it's our workflow, it's our technology, it's our HR guidance that ultimately protect the business, and we're a shared liability holder. So we have vested interest in the positive outcome. It's not just read this article, do whatever you want, and good luck. It's we're there to help them, to defend them, but more so not so that it gets to defense, to protect them along the way so that they're able to navigate some of those troubling circumstances.
So Grant, thanks for stopping by. That was a fascinating conversation. I learned so much. I'm sure my viewers learned so much. Thank you. To find out more about Tandem HR, please visit their website.